Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Daring Dancer Telesummit. Today, I am very honored to be interviewing Milena Cerin. Milena, welcome to the Daring Dancer Summit.
Thank you so much, Judy. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for the invitation.
Oh, you are so welcome, and I'm just excited to have you for sure. I didn't prepare an introduction for you because I wanted you to tell the listeners what is your story and what do you do and why do you do it? So I'm going to let you jump in with that.
Okay, so maybe I will share one thing before I go into my story. I feel like my life has been about spirituality and personal development since I was born. Like literally, I was interested in spirituality, and I don't talk about religion, but really spiritual connection with God. I had that connection since very young age. Then I started studying psychology at age of 12, and I never stopped.
That's early.
I know. So, and then, because I'm going to share my story with you and our listeners, it was mind-boggling how come these things happened to me based on all the psychology and everything that I've done, right? You know my story, so you probably know what I'm talking about right now, but let me share this with our listeners. So what happened was 8 years ago, my life and my children's life really turned around drastically. I was married at the time. I came to Canada 2 years prior to there. I'm in Canada now for 10 years. So 2 years after being here with my new husband, I was handed divorce papers overnight, like literally just like that, no warning. I was like, what? What's happening? And after that, really all the drama, the horror started. Like we were threatened every day, me and my two children. We were locked out of the main of the house basically, and we're just allowed to live in the basement without even our documents or passports or anything, even our clothes. Everything was upstairs locked. The doors were barricaded, so we couldn't go upstairs at all. My laptop was taken away from me with my articles that were just about to be published in Slovenia, where I'm from, and here in Canada. And now that was gone. Like literally everything I had was just taken away. Now, when I came to Canada, when I remarried, I was stay-at-home mom with 4 children, mine too, and then my husband had 2 children as well. Their mom died of cancer, so I was the only mom to these children. And I was stay-at-home mom, so these were the only 2 years in my adult life that I didn't work. And suddenly here I am, and my bank cards were canceled, credit cards were canceled. I had no money. I didn't know how we're going to, survive the day. How am I going to feed my children or even give them any future? It was a really horrible experience. And just being threatened every day, I tell you, I couldn't even sleep at night. I would lay awake at night worrying, what's he going to do next? And it was just really horrible experience. And I remember one day I was driving over the bridge with my 2 children in the car. And suddenly this thought ran through my mind: if I only turn the wheel, we all die and nobody suffers anymore. Even now, it brings tears in my eyes just thinking that actually happened. I'm not a suicidal person and I'm having these thoughts. And I realized that we're probably in a much more difficult situation than what I even thought we are. So that day I went home, I went to the bedroom, closed the door so my kids wouldn't hear me. And I was banging, pounding on the bed. I was sitting on the bed and just pounding with my fist on the bed. And I said, God, I can't take this anymore. If you want it, you take it. I'm done. Yeah. And in the moment when I said that, I felt physically the weight lifted off of my shoulders, like physically, just like that.
Wow.
And something was gone. And I was like, oh my God. And I felt peace in my heart, total peace. That was the moment when I knew we were going to be okay.
I'm getting chills listening to that because something very spiritual happened to you.
God, really. And so it still took several months for us, to get better and for me to get a job and safe place to live and so. But I knew we were going to be okay. And that was the main point. But one thing was left for me to resolve after all this story was over, was why it happened the second time. I mean, I was married the first time for 11 years to father of my children in Slovenia. It was an abusive marriage. I left when my body really started failing massively, and I knew I have to get out of here. This is not okay. And after that, and even before, right, as I tell you, I have all this background in psychology and everything. Now here I am studying domestic abuse, teaching others about it. My articles about domestic abuse were published. So I said, it will never happen again. I know everything now.
Right. So it did happen again.
Yeah.
While you were trying to teach others, to help others to get out of situations like this.
Exactly. And it was like, how is that even possible? And what I realized, and that's where my journey that I'm on still today started, was that the knowledge by itself is not helpful. You need to heal inside. You need to heal your emotions. You need to heal what you believe in.
That's so profound. That is so profound.
And excuse me. And so that's when I started really diving even deeper in personal development. I did, life coaching certification, neuro-linguistic programming, and all this stuff to heal myself first and now helping others. And it's been probably the most magnificent journey I could ever think about. And I truly believe if that thing 8 years ago didn't happen, I may not be here. Like, I don't know what I'll be doing, but, it definitely defined my life path for sure.
Amazing. And when you put together the fact that you started studying psychology at age 12, I mean, obviously we can't prove with science certain spiritual things, but it almost seems like this was the trajectory that your life was going to be on. Mm-hmm. And these things were meant to happen, as bad as they were. I mean, I don't know if I should even say that, but I want to ask you, that's an amazing story. And you are not only a survivor, but you're thriving. You're an amazing role model for people who are right now listening to this and who are in that situation.
Thank you so much.
So glad that you are here and that you didn't take that turn off on that bridge. So,
gosh, yeah, I'm very glad about that as well. Very happy.
I'm going to ask you something. Early on, when we first started talking, you made a distinction between the spiritual and the religious. Mm-hmm. So before we move on with some other questions that I had for you, could you just speak to that for our listeners? Because I'm guessing there's some people out here who are saying, what's the difference between spirituality and religion?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Religion to me is being associated either with any church or any, denomination, following the rules of that religion, right? Because every religion has their own rules. And I'm not against people doing that. If that's what works for them, great. I mean, my background, to be honest, I'm Catholic theologian. And that's what I was working when I got divorced the first time. I thought I'm going to lose everything, but I didn't. I didn't even lose the job because of that. But, so I was part of the religious establishment for a while, but it didn't work for me because I see God in everyone. I don't, I don't go, oh, this one's a Muslim, so, or whatever, this one's Catholic. It just doesn't make any difference. And spirituality is really that inner connection with the higher power, whatever you call the higher power, God, universe, energy, it doesn't matter. But there's something more that's guiding you, that's helping you. And when you feel that connection inside, life is much easier.
That's a beautiful explanation. Thank you. I love that explanation. So do you feel more connected now to the source, to God, after you felt that lifting of that burden that day that you were pounding on the bed?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, so here's the thing. I felt that as a little child, and I had some experiences that were quite profound as a little child. But then as I was growing up, you know how it happens, and it happens for all of us. This was not specific just to me. It happens for everyone. Then adults tell you, oh, this is not possible, or you're a dreamer. And then, you get bullied at school, and all kinds of things happen when you kind of forget who you truly are. You kind of, pile up all these limiting beliefs and emotions that are not serving you. painful situations, and you forget who you are. And that's exactly what happened for me. And in those two marriages, I wasn't, there were moments where this still kind of came through, this connection, absolutely, but not as strong as it is now after this experience, for sure. I think it returned me back to who I am.
Okay, and I'm sure there are a lot of listeners who are going to want to know how do I get back to who I am?
Yeah,
maybe that'll get answered in the next questions, and if not, we'll come back to that question maybe.
Sure. Yeah, I think my whole work is about returning people to themselves, right?
Beautiful. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Here's a question. I know that you use ancient knowledge in your work.
Mm-hmm.
What is ancient knowledge, and what is the reason for using that in your work?
Well, I was kind of blessed to be able to stumble upon knowledge that's like over 4,000 years old. It predates the Egypt, and it's such a wisdom, and it really talks about who we truly are and our inner power. I mean, seriously, if people would understand this, life would be much easier, and how we can utilize this inner power. And there's more than that. What science is now confirming, and what the spiritual traditions were telling us for thousands and thousands of years, is that we truly are magnificent beings. We are not just this human being put here on earth to suffer and die, and live, do the best you can. But we have this extreme power inside of us. And that code is actually, believe it or not, written in our DNA. Literally, it's spelled in our DNA. And do you want to know what it says, the message?
Do tell.
It says God, or eternal within the body.
Wow.
And I got goosebumps just talking about this. When I figured this out, the first one, I was teaching this, the first one at my workshop, I got tears in my eyes. I was like, that's who we are, God within the body. And that's actually spelled if you go to any ancient alphabet, like ancient Hebrew, ancient Arabic, because these were those first languages. And you apply this, there's a code, it would be too long to explain how the science today actually figured what these spiritual traditions were telling us before. But the words actually literally, the letters literally spell this message.
That is so exciting and so confirming of a lot of things that I've been kind of getting into lately myself.
Yeah.
And I think that if people want to know the science behind that, they can Google that, because it's out there. It is. And I love the words that you used. You said extreme power.
Mm-hmm. Sometimes I don't even know which words I'm using. They just come out. So yes, we don't know how powerful we are, right? One of the principles that I'm teaching, and it's that part of ancient knowledge, is that mind is all. Mind could also be referred as God, but if mind is all, if everything is mental, our thoughts are creating our reality. Our thoughts are creating the way our bodies look like, the way our health is, the relationships we attract into our life, like literally everything. And if we could only really truly access that, what are we thinking about all day long? Because that's what we're getting out. And it's very simple, because we know, everybody's saying, change your beliefs, it will change your life. Sure. But when you see that ancient knowledge is telling you that mind is all, that the universe is mental, that everything is mental, now you start digging deeper and you start really understanding, wow, so if I start using different words, if I start thinking differently, what will change in my life? Because if ancients knew that, we sometimes think that, oh yes, those old civilizations, they were so primitive. Well, not so much.
Right.
They could do a lot more than what we can do today.
Yes, that's true. When you look into the history, it is correct. And
so we should learn something from them.
Yeah, exactly. I agree completely. It's very exciting.
It is. The more I know, the more I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to know even more. Like it's just, you just don't stop once you start uncovering these things.
I think listeners are going to want to know how to tap into that power. Okay, so let's talk about, you combine in your work personal development, helping people obviously to tap into that power, their personal power, which is the power of the one source, because we're all connected. So, and I don't know, maybe that's where it comes from, but neuro-linguistic programming, spirituality, ancient knowledge, and business strategies. So you put all of those things together. How is that? Why is that such a powerful combination? How can that help people?
Well, you see, the key is that a lot of people don't understand. I think this understanding is getting more and more out there, but there's no separation between your personal life, between how you feel about yourself, between your business success and relationships. Everything is connected. Who you are in one area, that's who you are somewhere else. And yes, it's true. Some people are very miserable in relationships. They have great business success, but that doesn't mean they're necessarily happy with what they achieved. Everything is connected. And only when you really tap into your true potential of who you are, only when you can let go of what's limiting you, you can achieve success in all areas of your life. It just doesn't work any other way. And, I can maybe use myself as an example. Because when 8 years, when these things happened, when I knew I have to change something, that's when I hired my first coach. And about 2 years after that, when I already started my coaching, I decided I need a business coach to help me with, picking up my business off the ground. So I hired a very successful coach, Colin Sprague, here in Canada. I don't know if you've heard about him, but he's quite a big name. And I worked with him for a year. But I know exactly that if at that point I didn't work with personal coach, working on my, who I am, on what I believe in, I would never succeed as I have. I literally increased my income at that time for 457%.
Wow.
In 1 year, just because I worked on both sides. And I know that he could, my business coach could give me so many strategies. I would not implement them without having the confidence of who I am.
Absolutely. Yes, I love the way you said you've got to eliminate what's holding you back.
Yeah.
And it is so true that there are many people out there who appear to be wildly successful in business, but if the emotional underpinnings of their life are not shored up and healthy, that could easily come crashing down.
Absolutely.
So I just had this conversation this morning on the phone with somebody I was speaking with, another coach, and absolutely, it all does work together.
Yeah. And I think, and also, because we're talking about ancient knowledge, right? One of the things that I use are also archetypes. And people are so excited when they figure out which archetype is theirs. And once they can identify with the power of that archetype, it gives them that inner, inspiration and strength to really shine. So everything is, so magnificently connected.
So tell the listeners what an archetype is.
Yeah.
And give us a little primer on that.
Archetypes are basically energies, the primal energies. Right? Angel would be an archetype. Phoenix would be an archetype. Unicorn is an archetype. Moses, let's say, is an archetype. All the biblical, basically, personalities are archetypes at the end of the day. Or any other, like goddess, like Isis or Athena, or so. All these are archetypes.
They represent a specific force.
That's right.
Okay, yeah. And so listeners will resonate with one of those more so than others, and then that's right. Power source.
Yes.
Okay.
So it's literally energy. These are the energies that flow through us. One person may have an energy of goddess, the other one an energy of angel. Majority of the time, we have 2 or 3 archetypes. It's not just one. Let's say for me, my business logo is Phoenix. Phoenix for me is very strong archetype. I feel like I'm Phoenix. I rose from so many situations, like even from, almost dying and then coming back to life and stuff like this. So I'm like Phoenix, I rise again and again. Yes. And so when people identify with this, it gives you power.
Yes. And I think with archetypes, pointing out that, going along with our earlier discussion, they cut across all cultures and all ages. They've been around always. So yeah, there's just power in that. And we didn't just create these in our culture. So
that's right. Yeah.
So neuro-linguistic programming, NLP, that comes up a lot. It's come up with some other experts on this series. And what, in a nutshell, is NLP?
Well, I simplify what NLP is, and I just say it simply rewires your brain in a very, very quick fashion. In a matter of minutes, a belief is eliminated and something else is installed in you. And when I work with my clients, I work especially with timeline. Timeline work is very powerful. And when we do that, and I see them coming back on their timeline, and they come back, and sometimes they cry, sometimes they are just happy, and they're like, wow, I never knew I could do all these things. Like, I feel different about myself. It literally causes the change in a very, very quick way. It's probably one of the most efficient things that we currently are aware of that exist out there.
Love it. Yes. So in talking about doing timeline work, what you're basically saying is, correct me if I'm wrong, but people look back over their story and learn to think differently about it.
It's slightly different. They do go back in the past, but because we work with unconscious mind, you see, all the work is done on unconscious level. In NLP, it's not conscious mind. They don't need to remember the event. Sometimes they do, but it's so not necessary. I literally ask their unconscious mind, when was the first event? Let's say if we are eliminating fear, when the fear appeared, and go to that place. And they go to that place. And then I ask them, what are the positive learnings? From there, they get the positive learnings. And by getting positive learnings, they eliminate the fear. And when they come back, that fear is gone. But they have new positive learnings now, right? And that's very simplified, right? Because I don't want to...
Absolutely.
I can't explain the entire process. It's very simplified. But,
it's trance work. It's taking them to a lower level of consciousness or a below the level.
It's an unconscious work, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's exciting.
Very much.
So you mentioned fear, and we're our listeners are looking to overcome fear, deal with fear, move on from fear, live the life they want to live, because it's such a debilitating aspect of life, even though it does serve a purpose, and we've learned that over this series. What is this? Is NLP probably the most efficient method to get rid of fear? Are there other things that listeners can do to get past it?
Yeah, there's quite a few methods out there that I give to my clients. But one that I would like to introduce your listeners today to is called Sedona method. Before I explain this, I'd like to share what happened to one of my clients. My client had panic attacks on a daily basis. And so she came to me, she was very worried. She worried about everything. And of course, worry, started the panic attacks. So I gave her Sedona method at our first session. And when we had session next week, she said to me, do you know that I had a panic attack only once? I said, wow. So she kept practicing and she never had one again.
Exciting.
And so before I tell the exact words how to use that, Sedona method works for emotions like fear, anger, or resentment, whatever it is. It works for worries and it works for beliefs. So you can work with any of this, right? Warning before I reveal what the Sedona method is, because it consists of repetition of certain sentences, it does put you in a light hypnotic state.
Okay.
So don't do it when you drive. Don't do it when you cross the street. If I go for a walk and if I'm doing Sedona method, if I come to a crosswalk, I will literally stop. So I'm sure, I look around, there's no cars, I cross, and then I'll continue.
It's nice that people can do it while they're walking.
Absolutely, or cooking or whatever, but just make sure that it's not, hindering your presence or that you're not doing, as I said, don't do it when you drive or operating machinery or anything like that, because it's not, it's not very safe, right?
Got it. All right.
So it's very simple. All you do is, it consists of 4 sentences. Basically, you ask yourself, let's say that we are dealing with fear, okay? But as I said, you can do it for worries or beliefs as well. But let's do it for fear right now, okay? Could I allow myself to welcome this fear? And of course, you answer yes. Could I allow myself to let it go? Yes. Would I let it go? Yes. When? Now. And then you repeat the first sentence. Could I allow myself to welcome this fear? Yes. Could I allow myself to let it go? Yes. Would I let it go? Yes. Now. And you keep repeating all 4 sentences until you feel the release.
With the answers.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Until you feel the release. To me, a release happens very quickly with sedona method, usually on the 3rd or 4th repetition. But some people may need 5 minutes or 10 minutes. But it's so efficient. And the reason why it's so efficient is because first you welcome the feeling or the worry or whatever it is. And when you welcome something, you drop the resistance.
Right.
And when there's no resistance, things just pass through. There's nothing to stop them. Not right?
Yes.
When you're resisting, I don't want to feel that fear. Go away. I don't want to feel you. That's when fear pushes back. Because no, I want to be here. I want to be here. No, I don't want you. I want to be here. Right? And you're in this struggle. But when you remove the barrier, the fear has nothing to stop. It just goes away because there's nothing to stop to.
Exactly. It reminds me of martial arts techniques where you roll with those punches.
Yes.
And you don't resist. I mean, that's the metaphor that I'm thinking of for this right now.
Yeah.
It makes perfect sense. So once you welcome it, then you can put yourself through those 4 questions.
That's right. So could I allow myself to welcome this fear? Yes. Could I allow myself to let it go? Yes. Would I let it go? Yes. When? Now.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. I love that. A simple and effective technique that listeners can use right now.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, you're welcome. It really works. I mean, I have not had one client that would come back to me and say, this doesn't work for me.
That's exciting. So the brain is powerful.
Yes. Yeah.
So your clients that you work with are getting some pretty good results, it sounds like.
Yes. I mean, sometimes, because when I started doing this work, I had no idea the impact it will have on people. But then you see some of them heal their relationships. Like literally miraculously, they work on themselves and the other person changes. It's like, what? At one of my workshops, one of the ladies that came, she said that her mom always picks on her from all the children. They're all adult children with their families now. But she always picks on her. And she says, I'm afraid to go and visit her because I'm going to be the target. So we did some inner work and she calls me about 2 months later and she says, you won't believe what happened. She says, I went to visit my mom and I stayed 2 days longer than what I thought because my mom out of the blue apologized to me and she was so kind and so nice. And it's like, wow, incredible. When we do inner work, we're not just affecting ourselves. We're affecting energy of other people, right? Or my other client, this was a very interesting thing. When he came to me, he was almost broke. He didn't have clients. It was very hard for him to pay the bills. And in our work, because we didn't work together, we worked together for a month with him, and we only released anger. From all the emotions, we released anger. But it was exactly what he needed. And his income increased in the next month for 668%.
Wow.
And today he's got, this is 2 years later now, he's got successful business. And it was one emotion,
It sounds like, in listening to you, that we are the vessels carrying all of this stuff around.
Yeah.
We are our own worst enemies working against manifesting the life that we want.
Unfortunately, that's true.
And it's difficult to wonder why. We are on planet Earth, like you said, that we weren't put here just to suffer and then die.
Mm-hmm.
There's a bigger picture. There's more to this.
Yeah.
But when you think about most of the time, what we do as humans when we're suffering like that is our eyes are going all around the outside of us, to other people, to other situations.
Mm-hmm.
We're not looking at what's happening in here because we really don't think that it's us.
And that's the major problem, right? Because we think, well, if another person, if somebody else changes, I'll be happy. Or if somebody walks into my life and makes me happy, I'll be happy. And or if I make, $10,000 this month, then I'll be happy. But it's not about that. You need to change in order for others to change, in order for you to make that much money. It's always about you.
Yes.
And when we start looking on life from that perspective, what in me is causing these results? And you start resolving what inside those beliefs, and sometimes they're so hidden, like really hidden,
That's what I was going to ask you next, because it's as if we are blinded to those things.
Mm-hmm.
So deeply or substantially blinded.
Yeah.
Because if we could see that right away, we wouldn't be looking around on the outside.
Yes.
We'd be right away going, hey, it's here, I know it, but we don't.
Yeah.
So how do you get to that?
You know what? To be honest, look, there's so many coaches out there, so many courses available out there. I mean, I just urge people, go and do the inner work with these people, because it's hard to do everything on your own. I mean, even I have my coaches, and I have them consistently now for 8 years, because you don't see your own stuff.
Right.
You're so used to your negative beliefs and limitations. You're so used that it becomes normal for you.
Okay.
That's okay, right? You don't see the alarm anymore that goes on, because it's your way of living. It's something you grew up with, and it's totally normal to you. But even if it's normal to you, doesn't mean it's good for you. Right? And that's why it's good to have somebody on the outside. That's why the courses or coaches are so important, because they see things. Because when you say something, they're immediately, do you see what you just said right now? Right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I laugh because I've been on both sides of that. So I've experienced it as a human, but I've also done that for others, and
Yeah.
see things so clearly. And then it becomes an issue of how can I tell that person what I'm possibly seeing here.
Yeah.
So you recommend involving the power of the tribe or the power of the pack.
I am all about community. Like, really, I believe in community. I believe we were not born to live this life alone and know everything of ourselves. And, we're here to learn from each other and to do things together. I mean, I utilize other people's services as well. I said, I have other coaches, or, there's other things that I need. And I involve other people, because I don't know everything,
Mm-hmm.
right? And nobody does. And I think that one thing that maybe it's really, really important for people to understand is, because often I feel the objection when people ask me, so what do you do? And I say, well, I'm in personal development. And some people literally go, oh, you know what? It's all good with me. I don't need anything, right? And I go, well, personal development is not about something being wrong with you. It's far from that. It's about your personal growth. It's about uncovering your potential. Because what happens is, when we're growing up, even if you grew up in the best and the most loving family in the world, okay, in the most ideal situation, you still developed limiting beliefs. You still had some situations that were not pleasant, and that marked you. And what happens is, when we experience that, so we were born as these beautiful, magnificent beings, powerful, and then all these limitations kind of pile upon us, and suddenly we don't recognize who we are anymore. We don't know how much we can do. We don't know what our potential is. We start saying, oh, but I can do this, or I'm probably not good enough to to be able to have my own business, or I'm not lovable, and I don't think anybody's going to love me. Maybe I'll just stay single, and all this stuff. And this is not you. This is not you. These are those limitations you adopted as you were growing up. So what personal development and growth does for you is eliminating these limitations, so you can see who you are, so you can see your worthiness, so you can see your potential that you have, so you can access that potential and truly shine and be who you were meant to be all along.
So in addition to uncovering the things that we need to get past, we need the power of the community
yes.
to point out to us who we really are, perhaps. And
Yes.
that's maybe where that information would come from also.
Yeah, because I remember when I started coaching with my business coach, I mentioned before, Colin Sprague. So I was at one of his 3-day events, very powerful event. It was actually personal development. That one wasn't even business. And after that, I signed up for his program, just the courses at first. But he said to me one day, he said, I would love to work with you one-on-one. You deserve it. And his belief in me, just him seeing in me something I didn't see, helped me to grow into who I am. And we often need people that believe in us more than we do.
That's a great story, and he really validated your value.
Yes.
And your worth, and he saw it even when you maybe didn't see it. What about the listeners who just don't feel like they have anybody like that? That, no one's come up to them and said that to them.
Mm-hmm.
They may be living lives with people who that's the last thing on the mind of the people they're in the relationship with for various reasons. So they're under a lot of stress. Who knows what the situations are numerous out there, but what would you say to them?
There's 2 things I would recommend, and I've done both of them, so I know they work. One thing is, give yourself what others are not giving you. If you need to be complimented, if you feel like nobody says anything nice about you, say it to yourself. Say, oh my gosh, you look so beautiful today. Or you've done this so well. What a great work, right? Whatever it is, give this to yourself. And when you start giving this to yourself, you will notice that people start walking into your life that are giving you exactly what you need.
Interesting.
It works. The other thing is intention. And especially, I'm going to say, when you step on the path of personal growth, what happens is you start rising above people that you currently know if they don't grow as well. Right?
That can be an issue, because now suddenly, how do you fit in anymore? Go ahead.
So, and it happens to me, and it happens to everybody that's on this journey. And, I suddenly was like, okay, I'm all alone. I don't want to go out, with people that I used to go before, because, they're talking about other people, gossiping all the time. I just don't want to do that. Right. And so I had no new friends, but the old crowd didn't appeal to me anymore. And so I set the intention. I simply said, okay, God, I need people that are like me in my life. Can you please send some? And it started happening very fast. And you know what? It's not bad. People sometimes are afraid of this. Well, what's going to happen if I outgrow my friends? And so it's okay. You're going to get new ones that are even better, that you're going to enjoy much more in their company, that are going to lift you up. And yes, there may be a period of time when you'll feel a little bit, out of place. There's nobody there for you. But it's not going to be forever. It's very, very temporary.
That's very exciting. And I think that it's hard to let go sometimes. And I know the listeners are probably thinking, oh, I feel guilty. But, we're here to learn, and we do the best that we can. And we do need to continue growing and there's a saying out there that came to my mind as I was listening to you. People are either in your life for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. And sometimes we don't recognize that there are people who are there for a season, and we're giving back and forth to one another, and then our paths are going to move on. And wow, talk about a spiritual place to get your head into, to think about those kinds of things. And it can be very tough, because go ahead.
Every relationship is an assignment. Every person walks into your life to teach you something. Yes. And when they do, they usually disappear. And some relationships are for life, just like you said. Yeah. Right?
I think it can be interesting when we think about things like that. Every situation that we're in, every person that we've encountered has something for us, and us for them, possibly.
Yeah.
Same time. But when we
Yeah.
start to view things that way, it can really be just life affirming.
Yes.
And we see a lot there for us that we didn't see before when we weren't keeping our eyes open for that. So I'm so glad you brought that up.
Yeah, absolutely. Every person is a messenger.
Yeah.
Every person. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you are messenger to someone else.
Yes. Which makes us all useful.
Yes. Yeah.
And important to one another.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And it kind of changes too how you view people.
Mm-hmm.
It changes it. They can be, people in your life can be viewed with a lot more respect.
Yeah.
With that understanding.
Absolutely. And a lot less pain. Right? Because when you get hurt, you tend to go into that resentment and you carry that with you. But what if that person just came because you needed that experience, you needed to learn something, you haven't realized yet something about yourself, and that pain is actually now causing you to grow and see that, so it would never repeat itself again.
Yes.
Because the pain repeats until we learn the lesson, and then it's going away, it's done.
Absolutely. I've believed that lesson is going to reappear in our lives over and over until we get it.
Yes. Yeah. That's what it is. Yeah.
Yeah. So open your eyes is what I have to say, to myself included. Yeah. Open your eyes and see what's going on so that you don't have to, get it now. Don't go through 7-10 trials of something painful,
Absolutely. That's why I married twice the way I did. I didn't learn the first time.
And there you go again. So, yeah.
So, after the second time, I really started realizing I better learn what I need to learn, because I'm done with that kind of relationships, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Completely. Yeah. You've accomplished so much.
Thank you.
And it's just been so enlightening to share ideas with you on this interview. And I appreciate you very much.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Yeah.
I'm wondering if there's anything else that you would like to leave our listeners with before we let them know where they can reach you and what I know that you're offering something to them too.
Yes.
I want to talk about that.
But absolutely. I do have a gift for your listeners. It's a recording of my seminar. I think it's 2 hours long, Power Up Your Life. And I share 5 important things that you need to do in life or be aware of to create better lives, so powerful lives. And I did send you the link, so you're going to post that link with the gift, right?
It will be on the daily email for this.
Yeah.
Yes, on the page.
So it's just so that your listeners know this video is not available to public. This is really a gift to them, right?
Thank you so much.
Yeah, and what I have decided, though, just make one step forward, is that first 5 listeners that are going to open the email that they're going to get with the link. After that, if they respond back to that email, they'll get session with me.
Ooh,
complimentary
that's fantastic!
Yeah,
oh,
yeah, yeah. Let's change some lives. So, but only for the first 5, right? Because otherwise, it's
absolutely
a lot.
Oh, yeah. I appreciate that. So generous.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you said if I have anything to share, you know what? I'm just going to say fear resides in your mind, but so does courage. And you need to choose which one you want to,
And we have that power to choose.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. And you've proven it. You've done it. So.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
I think we all do what we have in life, right?
Yeah.
It's just, let's do it. Let's do it. Let's live powerfully, and everything's going to be okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
I will leave it with that. That's a great message. Live powerfully and know that everything is going to be okay.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Milena.
Thank you. Thank you, Judy.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.